Okay, I assume we've started. So with that, I'll call to order the government operations meeting for Monday, March 18th, 2024. First item is public comment. Do we have any comments from the public today?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. That in mind, we'll move to the next item 3, approval of the minutes from the January 16th, 2024 meeting. If I could have a motion on that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Okay, thanks. Now, next item is town buildings, facilities, and the RLE update. But I don't know if Phil has gotten back to his desk yet. We were having some Zoom issues initially. He was trying to help them get that worked out. Just move on to school projects. We'll come back to him when he logs back in. That works for everybody.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Oh, here's Phil now. Okay, well, just in time. Hey, Phil, we're just came to your item on the agenda. So
Sorry about that.
no, I appreciate you trying to get that worked out.
Having difficulties, and then on my way down, I guess he fixed it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the town buildings and facilities update, and I guess mostly about RLE.
yes. So my update is very short. RLE is still in the process of ordering material, both lighting and equipment. Just signed off on the lighting submittal last week. And projected date for the lighting equipment delivery is possibly June. Nothing confirmed, but again, projection. And then when they do come in, it's the plan is for the high school to be done first. And that's what I have.
Okay. Great. And any questions on that update? Okay. Here we go. Thanks, Phil. We'll move on to item 5, update on school projects.
Okay, I've got the update from Ron Lamontagne from the Board of Ed. He apologized for not attending. So first of all, they have the Stevens HVAC, the phase 1. They have the electrical panel, which we were hoping to already be in, had a shipping delay. They're expecting it probably to be in for this month, and their goal is to complete that for the April break. Then they have phase 2 of the Stevens HVAC. They finalized their drawings. We should be going out to bid in the next couple of weeks, probably mid-April. And at this point, we still haven't heard from the state as far as the grant application and percentage of reimbursement. So a few items waiting on that. And last for the Board of Ed was the middle school science classrooms. They did a kickoff meeting last week, met with the contractor and the architect, and hopefully they can start around the end of June on the science classroom for Griswold.
I'm sorry, when did you say they're going to start again?
They're hoping for the end of June for starting up that next round of science classroom.
Gotcha. So just after school gets out. Okay.
Mhm.
Great. Any questions on those items?
Nope.
Okay, thank you, Mona. We'll move on to item 6, the update on pool repair options, as well as Elmridge Park and at the high school. Craig Bowman. Hey, Craig. There he is.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so Ray and Mona asked me to come onto this meeting to just give you guys an update on where we're at with long-range planning for the pool, for the outdoor pool at Elmridge Park. And I had mentioned it in our presentation a couple weeks back. But just a couple things, the pool is older. It's in decline. It was opened in 1968. I think the talks to replace the pool have actually been ongoing since the 90s, believe it or not, according to Walt. And just a little bit for you guys to understand. So we usually open the pool the 3rd week of June, and we usually close it the 3rd week of August, 3rd to 4th week of August. So we usually have it open from 8 to 9 weeks every summer. So as we look to, for the future of the pool, we're looking, there's a lot of options on the table. We can keep as is, keep it status quo, which, usually requires routine maintenance and upkeep. We have to paint the pool every 4 to 5 years. That's in the neighborhood of about 50,000 to do now. You have to replace the grates every 5 years for Virginia Graham Baker Act. And we just have to keep an eye out on the filters and the controllers. It is a concrete structure. It is structurally sound right now, but it's also an older facility. We're closing in on close to 60 years. So there's that. We could keep it as is, possibly add a splash pad to the mix. We could renovate the existing pool by adding a liner system in. Usually when you add a liner system in, there's a couple different options between a PVC liner or they have a stainless steel liner, which basically sits in the inside of the existing pool. So that's something we could look at. So that's obviously a lot less costly than building a new pool. But the cons of that would be, you might have to replace some pool decking, some coping in the process. And as soon as you start drilling into the existing structure to hold it in place, you never know what you're going to find. So there is that's on the table. You could also add a splash pad to the mix with that. There is the option of a new pool with a splash pad. If we are building a new pool with a splash pad, we'd also need to build a new bathhouse as well, to hold all of the filtration systems. That is obviously a much more expensive process. It is, we would go with the 0 depth entry with something like that, eliminate the baby pool, add some spray features. But again, pretty expensive. And the cons of that obviously is it would be a referendum item, I would have to imagine, just with the cost of it. And then last but not least, you could look into replacing the existing pool that we have altogether with the splash pad. So, the pros of that would be it's less maintenance, upkeep, less staffing costs, no chemicals, less water, and a longer season of operation. You're talking about 3 months at least, from give or take Memorial Day, maybe even before Memorial Day to Labor Day. That's usually a season of operation, which is 3 months. And then your cons, obviously would be you don't have the outdoor pool to offer the public. But like I've mentioned before in other meetings, the one positive that we do have is we have an indoor pool. So we do have a place where you can learn to swim, where you can access swim lessons and public swim time. And, again, I think there is an emotional attachment to a pool that's been in the community for a long time. And I think a lot of people are drawn to that. So that's kind of the update I want to give you. Again, we're going to operate this season normally. It is going to be in need of a paint job next year. And I believe Mona, through Mona and Ray's vision, we've been able to start looking ahead, 4 or 5 years down the line, putting aside extra money in CIP to address this issue, whether it's becomes a renovate as a new project or, we go with the splash pad. But just wanted to give everyone an update on that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, Craig, what's your recommendation for the pool? For like looking forward to the next 20 years, what's your recommendation?
My recommendation first would be to hire an engineer or hire an architect who specializes in this, to get his or her take on the matter. We did put some extra money aside next fiscal year for this purpose. That's a loaded question, John. Obviously, I love the pool. I think a new pool would be great. It would be awesome for the community. It would set the community up for decades. But there is a large financial commitment to that. So I do think regardless of what we decide to do, I do think a splash pad is absolutely a must in that area. I definitely think that's something that we should look to construct
Okay.
in the near future.
And Mona, a while back, we were saving money every year or, every other year or whatever towards a special fund for the pool. Do you know the balance of that?
I would say it's very minimal, to be honest with you. We were transferring that into the non-recurring fund. And there was a point in time where the funds were reallocated from that and put toward this school roof project. So I would say it's definitely short of 100,000. I know at one point we got it to I think a bit higher level.
It was at like 450 at one time.
Correct. Mhm.
And we don't have we had grant money, I believe, last year that went towards other things at Elm Ridge. Is there potential that we could get grant money in the future for the pool?
And we have to compare with Craig. I don't know.
I mean, that's always something we can look into.
Let me add about the grant money, Craig, what are we talking about as far as dollar values for this, I mean 10, 15.
I think a new pool,
Yeah.
if you did a new pool, a new splash pad, a new bathhouse, we did have a master plan that was done a few years back, 2 years back. And that came in somewhere in the neighborhood of between 10 to 12 million.
Yeah.
And that was for everything.
That's clearly a referendum item.
Correct. So I don't think that's something that is being grant funded.
And I wonder if we can get grant money for the study. And to your point, Craig.
Potentially, yeah. That might be something we could look for grant funds for.
Okay.
I mean, I think this architect who may look at this, your recommendation, Craig, can we get estimates on, okay, 10 to 15 million? That's still a pretty big range, but I think to Mona's point, that's a referendum, and frankly, I don't think it would go through for 9 weeks a year. And I'm not sure where I fall on that, but repairing it, adding a splash pad, I mean, I think before we make decisions, we would obviously need to have cost. So does that architect study include cost, or at least estimates?
Yeah, I mean, I have some preliminary costs from our master plan that was done a few years back.
Of the different options?
Yeah, there was a renovated new option, there was a new pool option, and there was some splash pad costs in there as well. The splash pad was coming in around 690 at that time, but that was also 2 years ago. And it was also, a little bit of a smaller footprint. I believe it was like 3,200 square feet, somewhere in that range. So, that's a pretty solid number, but again, it was 2 years ago. It's not up to date. So I do think that
But
an
then
engineer.
then that liner you were talking about, any idea on that cost?
Yeah, we've gotten one for the stainless steel. We don't have an exact number for the PVC liner.
Sure.
We do have a number for the stainless steel. I think it was around 390, somewhere in that range. So, just call it 400,000, give or take.
Right. Okay. And how many years would that buy us, you think?
You see, those can give you 20 years.
And do they need the painting as regular as a gunite?
No.
So the
Nope.
50,000 we spend every 4 years is part of that equation.
Yeah, the 50,000 we do now is we're just putting epoxy paint in a concrete structure. You know,
And
it
that's
used to
every
be
4
less
years.
than that, but it's usually every 4 to 5.
4 to
4
5.
to 5. So, and we're due for it next summer. That's why we have it in, knowing that whatever we come up with in the next year is not going to be enough lead time to even have a long-term. You know, we need to get it done next year, regardless.
In those 8 or 9 weeks that it is open, Craig, do we lose money because of staffing?
No, the
Or is
staffing
that
is
break
built
even?
in. It's built into our costs. It's built into our budget. You know, we've done a really good job in the last 2 years since Nick took over of helping reduce staffing costs, actually. Just making it a more efficient operation. You know, we've got some pretty accurate visit numbers too through our MyRec. I don't have those right in front of me.
It's
Yeah, I
not
mean,
necessary right now, but I was just curious, like, if we were open extra weeks, do we make money on those weeks? You know, it
no,
sounds like we
that's
break
not really
even.
the way of looking at it to
Break
me.
even. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really the way of looking. I don't look at it as the pool is a service to the community. It's not like we're hosting these huge outdoor swim meets at the park. You know, it's something that we are providing the community. It's a service. Actually, the one thing we run into is if you try and expand the hours of operation, you end up, you know, obviously you need more chlorine, which is more expensive now than it was years back. You also add staff costs, and the issue we run into is staffing. You know, because a lot of our kids are college kids who are going back to school in the fall, or they might be high school kids that are going back to school in August.
Right.
And if they're high school athletes, they're going back to, or they're starting even earlier. Same with college athletes. So that's where we've always settled on that like August 16, 17
Got
range.
Okay, just curious. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Craig, oh, I'm sorry. Craig, if I can ask the question, is it
You're not
feasible?
allowed to ask questions, Phil. This is.
I'd be better off, yeah. Is it feasible to renovate the shell as is, or even possible, you know, just a small addition to it?
Small addition to it, how so?
Well, you know, I know the pump room is within the shell now, but if you put an addition for a new pump room, right? Renovate the original shell and then put the liner in with a splash pad, would that help, you know, the town afford it going forward?
Well, I think you also have to take into consideration the ADA.
Right,
Because you're
that's where
you're
the
making a
renovation-
modification to an existing building that was built before,
Right.
was it 1995? So
So a total renovation could do that.
potentially.
Mhm.
I mean, there's always, I guess, again, that's something that we would need an architect to be able to kind of, you know, value or, you know, engineer that and value engineer it.
And the architect's gonna look at bathhouse as well as pool, right?
Yeah, we could look at a bathhouse for sure. Yep.
We should.
And if it's something that you know, that could always be something if you ever went out to bid for it, you know, maybe it's an ad alternate in the bid. You know, so.
Greg, can you talk, I don't know if you have the number in front of you, but just a feel for how many non-Rock Hill residents use the pool versus residents, kind of the ratio?
I don't have that number in front of me. But I can definitely pull that number for you and get it for you. That's easily accessible information through MyRec.
Because I want to make sure if we go down whatever path, that's going to, you know, be a pretty significant expenditure, that it's not, you know, 80% of non-residents are using this thing.
No, the majority of people that visit the outdoor pool our residents. But
Mhm.
you'll get an occasional, Cromwell, since they don't have an outdoor pool, you'll get visitors from Cromwell. You'll get visitors from out of town that if they're doing like a pavilion rental on a
Mhm.
Saturday in July and they're having a barbecue or something, they'll come in and but they pay a non-resident rate too. It's
Yeah.
a more expensive rate too to access the pool.
I mean, just thinking outside the box, because we're talking about like regionalization things, is there a way to make this the Rock Hill Cromwell pool? Let's say Cromwell put some bill.
So you have to wait for them to zoom in to finish.
Are you hearing background voices?
Yes, you are.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's a public safety meeting.
Oh, boy, they're gonna go over ours.
Can they
Okay. I'll get those for you,
Okay, sorry.
Jeff.
if there's any way regionalization thing is realistic in this type of circumstance, but it's
Okay, all right, thank you.
if they don't have a pool, they want to share the cost, then we give them in town, they get in town rates or whatever, but yeah. To think about.
Sure.
If there are no other questions, we'll move on to next item, update on the Rock Hill Community Farm.
And we lost Ray.
Lost Ray. And do you want to move on to the Brownfield assessment grant on Evans Road, or is that Ray also?
That was going to be Ray.
All right, I'm here.
There he is.
15-second update.
Okay. First, the community farm.
Some good news. The barn will start construction the end of this week and be completed, of course, weather permitting. We have taken care of some of the issues regarding excessive fill and some of the drainage issues that we ran into. Those are being taken care of as we speak. Remediation, as far as the environmental remediation, that has been completed. Now we're just working on the remaining site grading, excavation, and taking care of the tree work. That's where we are.
Okay. On the excessive fill and the tree work, is that what was decided about that? Is
One more
town-
question for you. These
Working.
mics aren't on right now, are they? No. Okay, all right, so maybe thought they might have been. I was like, that doesn't make sense.
this is gonna be hard to do. Is there are there whatever costs are associated, are those being paid by the contractor that or That's-
What we're doing, we're reducing some of the contracted work from Zubik. So we're saving at that end.
okay. Gotcha. Okay. Any questions on the farm? If not, let's move on to the Brownfield assessment grant for Evans Road.
That's the same thing. Same. I incorporated both.
Oh, so which,
Oh, no, hang on, no, hang
No,
on.
no.
I'm starting to panic here. I need to be in the other meeting too. So, Evans Road, we are in the second phase of the environmental assessment. We have phase 1, 2, and 3 assessment going on 45 Evans Road. We received a $200,000 grant last summer. Phase 2 is in the initial stages. Phase 1 was done. Of course, the site was used for oil terminal, and there's some other contamination on site. So phase 2 is required. We anticipate a phase 3 to be performed in the future. Again, we have a $200,000 grant to do that, to do all 3 phases. And
gotcha.
the project is in connection with a proposed brewery concept proposed by Boondoggle at the time. We being the town decided to incentivize that particular project by receiving grant funds to help mitigate the cost of redeveloping that property. So that's where we are with that. So stay tuned for further progress.
Any questions? If not, anything under other business or correspondence?
Not for me.
Okay. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, everybody. See you tonight.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.